All right, welcome back. We are kicking it live today. It is a terrific Tuesday indeed. Breaking down some legal stuff a little earlier, talking about the Latino community and how they're being suppressed by the Biden campaign with Rich Valdez. And now the big news of the day, as far as I'm concerned, is we're getting so many mixed messages on this COVID information. And, you know, Dr. Dean Hart joins us right now. He's an expert in microbiology. He's also a published author on the transmission of viruses and diseases. And we have a lot of doctors on, but, you know, half of them, you know, they're just in it for the TV appearance. And I really took a liking to Dr. Dean when he first came on because he just said it like it is, and that's what we try to do on the show. So, Doc, thank you very much for joining us today. There's so much crap going on out there. I can't even break it down. I got some friends that are down in Washington, D.C. at this doctors convention conference where they're debunking a lot of the hydroxychloroquine stuff and the mask stuff. And I just don't know what to believe anymore. Is there any, in your view, is there any medical certainty that hydroxychloroquine has a positive benefit or does not have a positive benefit?
There's definitely a logic. What we need is scientists, because when we are clinicians, we're scientific clinicians, and you need the data to support exactly the risk-reward ratio. There are a few good drugs that have good risk-reward ratios in certain circumstances. But we clinical scientists need stuff that'll bore you, but there's dexamethasone now, remdesivir, there is chloroquine, and you can mix that. That's called Plaquenil. You can mix that with azithromycin. And there's one or two other things that aren't on the top of my head. So there's things that are far better than intubation in the vast majority of cases. So you're not going to find that people are getting these tubes down their throat as much anymore. Better treatment.
Yeah, I cited this study that was a couple of months back, and some Italian scientist actually had some, you know, hypothesis that the inflammation on the inner wall in the lungs actually took up surface area inside the lungs, and the introduction of more air into the lungs was actually more detrimental to the patient than not. I know it's just another scientific study, but it made a lot of sense to me because 80% of the people who got put on these respirators died.
Well, that's true. Another factor, when you go on your respirator, you're put to sleep basically, but your immune system was not put to sleep. So your immune system is there fighting virus. You're stuck with this tube down your throat. Now the immune system really freaks out. There's a lot of foreign stuff in the body. And a lot of times it turns out those respiratory deaths were because of that's not the right treatment. We've learned a lot of facts. It's just not the treatment, and you don't have to get there so easily. You try hydroxychloroquine is not the top thing you try. Dexamethasone's a good one, and remdesivir, sometimes that works, but you could try the azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine too. And there's one or two other things that are, it's probably a list of 10. I'm thinking these are the main ones. But you know where we're going to get all that data? The baseball started, and now they're noticing the contagious factors. And now when the NFL or NHL starting, and so is the NBA, and they're going to do more of a bubble than the baseball group. And if you do enough of a bubble, that'll simulate almost like going to school. If on one end of the spectrum, you play it loosey-goosey like Major League Baseball. I think the NBA is going to be pretty tight about that bubble.
Right, so we're going to get into sports a little more in the next segment, but I think the NBA is having all their games in like Disney complex or something, so they're pretty much like one big petri dish, basically. And the way the MLB is doing it, they got these people going city to city, interacting with different stadiums and all this other stuff. So you would imagine that, you know, if you have a controlled environment, you can do, a lot more damage control than if you just have this uncontrolled environment.
Exactly. It's the greatest petri dish. I don't know. These guys are paid multi-millions of dollars a year. Obviously, they want to play, and that's kind of like coercing somebody. So those rich guys are actually guinea pigs or lab rats for the students that are coming up in September. That's what they're actually doing. They're test subjects. The problem with this is the fat old coaches that are obese with high blood pressure and 70 years old and in the Hall of Fame already, those third base coaches, they could die from the COVID. I don't think those athletes will die very much from the COVID.
Hey Doc, just to go back to the hydroxy for a minute. My buddy Rob, he owns a local pharmacy here. I grew up with him my whole life. In the beginning of this thing, I was asking him, hey, can you get me some of this hydroxychloroquine, please? I'll get my doctor to write me a prescription. And he says, John, look, I got all you want of this, I forget what the name is, not the the active agent in the hydroxychloroquine. He said, but I'll tell you. Yeah, Plaquenil, right. He says, yeah, I can get it all you want. He says, listen to me. Get some, he says, come over, I'll give you some quinine. I'll give you some zinc, and wash it down every day with some tonic water. It can't hurt because tonic water's got a little quinine in there too.
Yes.
Take that, and it's pretty much the same thing. And for like a couple of weeks there, I was doing it because I was nervous. You know what I mean? Knock on wood, I haven't been hit yet, but it's like, are there simple kind of therapeutics that could be preventive here?
There are definitely ways to prevent COVID. Your pharmacist was a brilliant clinician. You needed something for moral support. There is reason to believe when the way we got quinine water was the British, they were settling in Africa and getting malaria, and they drank more quinine water to be anti-malarial. So that's so he gave you the perfect thing that can't hurt because it won't help, but it won't hurt. We call it non-malfeasance, do no harm. He's an excellent bioethicist, I might add.
So he gave me, as a good friend, he knows I'm, a fairly healthy adult, he gave me the equivalent of a placebo to make my mental health a little better.
A little better than a placebo, but I can't say it's the difference. The difference is a mask. When we're with other people within 6 feet and indoor, and yelling indoor with strangers at a bar or singing in the church, though without a mask, indoor in general needs to be redone. The whole concept, unless we get a vaccine. So yeah, your doctor, pharmacist was actually bioethically perfect. It helps a little. It hurts not at all. It's not going to be the difference.
Little zinc never killed anybody, right?
Exactly. And the quinine water, I have that with my beverage for lunch sometimes.
Okay, all right. So then maybe there's something there.
Gin and tonic.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. That's my summer drink. Let me ask you this, but I'm not, I know we like to joke around sometimes, and you're always a good sport, but you give us real information, which I value. I'm still confused because of all the mixed messages. Now, if I'm wearing a mask, am I wearing a mask to prevent someone from breathing in my face, or am I wearing a mask to prevent me from breathing in someone else's face?
The second, it'll catch virus you're exporting through speaking, fomites, which is spitting. If you cough or sneeze into the mask, better the mask than another face. So the mask catches germs. Does it filter out many germs? No, but there's so many asymptomatic patients we can't figure out. There's science. We know how to figure it out. There's not 4 billion tests floating around, so we can test everybody once every other day for a while, maybe for 2 months, and be able to say who needs a mask, who doesn't. You can test for your antibodies. Either you can test everybody to know their condition, and then you don't need a mask in half the cases.
Got it. So I know it's very hard for me to get a completely binary answer from many of the medical professionals that I have on the show, because I know the trial lawyers lobby is so strong in Washington that all the doctors are always afraid of saying anything on the record that they could potentially have used against them down the line. But that's some of the best info I've heard in a while, that now I understand. It's to keep me from coughing or breathing on someone else, but it's really not going to protect me on the way in. All right.
Very unlikely you're going to have such a sophisticated device. Now, medical workers will have a sophisticated device that is suction, a good N95, but
N95.
we're not going to have that.
All right,
well,
we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk some sports, talk about the Yankee game getting canceled, and how this could be, to me, the end of baseball for this year. But Dr. Dean Hart sticks with us. We'll come back and wrap up Liquid Lunch right after this.